It's time now for French Connections, our weekly look at the intricacies of life here in France with Florence Villeneuve.
Hey, Judy.
Hi, Flo. Today we have a bit of a history lesson for you. This is a very defining page in French history. This is the Paris Commune, which celebrates its 150th anniversary this year.
Well, let's take a look at our expression du jour, the Commune de Paris. It was a revolutionary socialist government that controlled Paris from the 18th of March to the 28th of May, 1871. Now, it started out as a bloody insurrection, ended as a brutal civil war with parts of Paris actually burnt down to the ground, but it was also a social laboratory that experimented with concepts that are very central to modern-day France. Now, it was called La Commune in honor of the name that was given to the municipality of Paris during the Revolution of 1789, and those who participated in it were called les communards or les fédérés, so another expression du jour for you today.
Now, to better understand the origins of the Paris Commune, you have to go back a little bit further in French history to the end of the Franco-Prussian War and the defeat of Napoleon III, who was the nephew of Napoleon Bonaparte.
That's right. And the new government of the recently declared Third Republic that was led by a man named Adolphe Thiers not only conceded victory to the Prussians, but allowed them to march down the Champs-Élysées and agreed to pay hefty reparations. And for the people of Paris, this added insult to injury because they were still reeling from a 4-month siege by the Prussians, a siege that left them angry, tired, and hungry.
Un siège très très dur, donc qui se passe pendant l'hiver, donc froid et faim. Donc on connaît tous les images des Parisiens qui mangent des rats, des chats, et des riches Parisiens qui mangent mieux, c'est-à-dire les animaux exotiques qu'on trouve notamment au Jardin des Plantes.
Okay, so here we are in March 1871. The situation really comes to fever pitch on March 18th when the government tries to take about 300 cannons from Montmartre.
And the Parisians thought these cannons belonged to them because they'd paid for them through a subscription. Now, this was really the last straw, and a lot of citizens, along with soldiers from the National Guard who were defending Paris, they seized control of the city. They refused to accept the authority of the national government, which ended up fleeing to Versailles, and elections were held. The Commune was declared. They had a red flag. That was their symbol. And while many rich bourgeois fled Paris, these elected officials got to work. They were journalists, artisans, workers, lawyers, doctors, artists, a very motley crew getting to work here. It didn't last very long, though, because at the end of May, the Versailles government ended up taking back Paris after a very bloody week known as La Semaine Sanglante. Thousands of communards were executed. Meanwhile, the fédérés, so the communards, set fire to many buildings in Paris, including the Palais des Tuileries, City Hall. It's estimated that a third of Paris burnt to the ground. It's the worst destruction the capital has known in its history. And after all this, tens of thousands of supporters of the Commune were either sent to prison or deported to the colonies.
And as you say, it was very short, just 72 days, and yet it really captured the imagination of people around the world, and its legacy even lives on today.
That's right, because La Commune was an incredible social experiment. The new government swiftly announced all sorts of measures, including equality between men and women, workers' rights, the separation of church and state. Foreigners were granted citizenships. These were ideas that were radical at the time.
Cette expérience, de fil en aiguille, va conduire à quelques-unes des plus belles avancées sociales qu'on puisse imaginer et qui vont inspirer les révolutionnaires pendant des décennies et même jusqu'à nos jours.
Another interesting thing about La Commune is that women played a key role. They not only chaired committees, they also built barricades and participated in the armed violence. This was the case, for instance, of a woman named Louise Michel, an icon of La Commune, feminism, and anarchism that's still celebrated today.
So, as you were saying, this was really a defining moment in French history, but so short, just about 2 months. Today, though, 150 years later, the legacy of the Commune really divides France still.
That's right. For the left, La Commune is a founding myth that should be celebrated today. For instance, the anthem for the communists, L'Internationale, was actually written by a communard, and there's another song that you hear often in demonstrations that's called Le Temps des Cerises. This was also a tribute to the Commune, and people credit the Commune with inspiring more recent movements like the Yellow Vest movement. But people on the right say, let's not forget, this was a violent, bloody insurrection that shouldn't be glorified. And maybe that can partially explain why La Commune is relatively unknown in France. It's something you don't really learn that much, for instance, in school. It kind of sits outside France's national narrative.
But if you pay close attention, there are actually signs of the Commune that are still evident on the walls of Paris.
Absolutely. At the Père-Lachaise cemetery, for instance, there's what's known as le mur des fédérés, which is actually a wall in front of which the last defenders of the Commune were executed. You can see bullet holes in that wall. But the most visible sign of the Commune is actually one of Paris's most famous tourist destinations, and it is the Sacré-Cœur on top of Montmartre. Now, the building of this church was actually planned before La Commune, but the first stone was laid shortly after the end of La Commune, and it was built really where everything got started. And so for some people, this church is actually a slap in the face to the memory of La Commune, which, remember, was secular. And this might, in part, explain why a lot of Parisians hate Sacré-Cœur, although some argue that it's just ugly. I don't agree with that personally. But what's interesting is if you do walk around Montmartre, it's easy to forget today that just 150 years ago there was this incredible chapter of French history that was taking part.
Flo, thank you so much for that. I personally love Sacré-Cœur. I think it looks like a wedding cake. But thank you for telling us about the Paris Commune. It's true, it is really a very little-known page in French history. Florence Villeminot. Now, if you have your own questions for Flo, feel free to send out a tweet at Flo Villeminot, and you can check out all the other French connections, of course, on our website, France24.com.